Hi everyone, this is William from the Headphone Experience, and I'm here tonight with my first impressions of the Audio GD R8 Mark II Dac. And it's going to be a little bit different tonight because usually whatever I'm doing a review of, I hold it up, spin it around, show it to you, show you all the details, all that. Well, the problem is this thing is massive, and you can't see a picture of it behind me. And in the picture, the top unit is the Audio GD Master 9 headphone amp and preamp, and then on the bottom is the R8 Dac. And as you can see, they're the same size. And this DAC is about 17 inches square and weighs about 26.5 pounds. So it is far too big for me to hold up and spin around, and I mean seriously, it's like that wide. So what I'm gonna have to do is, I've got the picture up, you can see it, and I couldn't get any, in fact that picture's not that great, I couldn't get any real good pictures. My camera happens to be down at the moment. I have a Canon Rebel digital SLR that I usually take my photos with, and for some reason the flash isn't synchronizing with the photos. The flash goes off, but the photos aren't lit. The two aren't synchronizing. So if anyone out there knows anything about that, shoot me a comment in the messages on this. So I'm figuring I'm gonna have to buy a new camera. So anyway, right now all I've got is my iPhone to snap some pictures with and doing the best I can. So when I do my full review on this in a couple weeks, or probably more like a month, I'll try to get you some better photos and maybe do some video and show you around the amp with the video, show you the back of it and all that. So for right now, like I said, this is my first impressions. I've had this about 2 weeks now, and it was loaned to me for review by Underwood Hi-Fi, and they are a US based company and their headquarters are in Hawaii. And the DAC itself, like all Audio GD products, is manufactured in China. Underwood currently sells this for $1,999. That would be in US dollars. I believe you can get it a couple $100 cheaper ordering it directly from Audio GD in China, but you're going to probably pay the difference in shipping, so it's probably going to work out about the same anyway. And I believe if you order through Underwood, I believe that they are set up to do warranty repairs here in the United States, so you don't have to ship it back to China, which is a major expense and a lot of time. So anyway, this is an R2R resistor ladder DAC. It's balanced also. This is my first R2R Dac that I've done a review on. I've done several DACs with the standard Delta Sigma DAC chips in them, but this is a completely different way of converting your digital signal into an analog signal. And don't ask me right now to explain exactly how an R2R Dac works. I kind of have an idea, but I'm not going to try to explain it and make myself look stupid. So over the next month, before I do my final review, I'll try to learn more about the difference between how a Delta Sigma chip DAC works and how an R2R resistor ladder DAC works, and try to explain it a little bit. But anyway, I've been for a long time hoping to get a chance to review this amp, or this DAC, because I've had the Audio GD Master 9 for I think about 3 years now, and it's been sort of my reference amp, and this DAC is pretty much made for it. It's like, you know, a match set, and you can see, I mean, in the picture they look like they were made for each other. So anyway, getting into the specifications on this. This DAC has 6 digital inputs, which would include coax, USB, optical, BNC, which is just a different plug that you can use another coax input into it, and then you just need a little adapter that costs a couple dollars to hook a coax cable up to the BNC connector. It has AES, which is basically a 3-pin XLR plug, a full-size 3-pin XLR. And then you have IIS, which I'm not sure what that's all about. It looks like an HDMI plug, but from what I've been told, no, you can't hook your HDMI cable from your Blu-ray player up to this or whatever. It's certain components. Use that, and I'll try to learn more about that also, but it's just it's another way of running a digital signal to the DAC. And then this DAC, well, I also want to mention that it accepts PCM signals up to 32 bits and 384 kilohertz, and DSD signals up to 512. This DAC also has 3 analog outputs. That would be XLR, your 3-pin full-size XLR plugs, RCA, single-ended, and then ACSS, which is another balanced connection that uses what looks like 3-pin mini XLR plugs. And all the Audio GD products are made to be connected together with that, and I haven't yet been able to get a set of cables for that to connect the two with ACSS, so right now I'm just using balanced XLR cables connecting these two units together. I've been told they sound even better using the ACSS, and that's a whole nother thing that I need to learn more about before I do my final review. Try to explain somewhat how that works, but it bypasses some circuits in both units, so it makes a shorter signal path basically than going through the XLR or the RCA outputs. This unit is rated by Audio GD to have a total harmonic distortion of 0.01% and a signal to noise ratio of 120 decibels. The size of this unit, which I mentioned earlier, it's huge. It's 17 inches wide, it's 17 and a half inches deep, so it's even deeper than it is wide, and it's about 3.5 inches tall. And I believe this unit weighs 26.5 pounds, which is just unbelievable for a DAC. And these things have entirely aluminum cases. All this black case you see, that's all aluminum. So the weight of this thing is the components inside. I mean, both of these units each have 3 large R-type transformers, like about that big in them. So anyway, these things are heavy. The amp that's sitting on the top there, that weighs in at I think 32 pounds. And I do have the amp on top because, being a Class A amp rated at like 9 watts per channel into 32 ohms, it does put off a lot of heat, so I think it's best to have the amp on top. So anyway, this DAC also has an adjustable oversampling that has 4 different settings, and you can adjust the oversampling from 0 oversampling to 2 times, 4 times, or 8 times oversampling. And the way you do that, if you can see this back here on these buttons, you've got your settings here, and then you go through the different settings. Here's your power button. These symbols on the front, what this means is the 3 means you're on the 3rd digital input. The P means it's got a PCM signal running into it. And the 4.1 is the kilohertz. It's a CD quality. I am using a CD transport running into it. So did want to mention the equipment I've used so far in reviewing this, and like I said, I'm using a CD transport, the digital signal from that, and that is a Cambridge Audio 540C CD player. And right now I'm using the coaxial digital output of that. And as far as amps, I have it hooked up to the Audio GD Master 9, which you see in the picture. And I'm using the balanced output going to that, and then I'm using the single-ended output, the RCA outputs, going to the Waveborn Edelweiss 3 tube amp that I have in for review right now. And so I'm trying with that, and then I've got more amps, and in the next few weeks I'll try to expand a little bit. And as far as headphones, primarily so far I've used the Kennerton Woden and the LSA HP Diamond that I just posted my review, I think this morning, of that. And really great headphone, but I finished my review and that's getting packed up and going back, and don't know what I'll be seeing next, not sure yet. So anyway, and then as far as comparisons, and I haven't done a lot of comparing yet. Usually before I do a first impressions, I don't really do a lot of repairing or comparing, I'm sorry. I try to just, base my opinion on what I'm hearing without comparing it to other components. But because I never have heard an R2R Dac before, of course I wanted to do some quick comparisons and see just how it did compare. And right now I've got the Topping D70S MQA version, that DAC. I have it in so I can compare it to that, and I have done a few comparisons, and I will mention that in a minute. I've also still have the i5 Neo IDSD. I finished my full review on that a couple weeks ago, but I was hanging on to it as long as I could so I could compare it to this DAC. That's also a really good DAC. And so my opinion so far, like I said, I've done a little bit of comparing. Is this better or worse than the standard Delta Sigma DACs? I can't really say yet, but it's interesting. So far, my opinions of this, and I've actually put quite a few hours on this, and I would say the detail and resolution is excellent on it, and I would say the sound is just slightly on the warm side of neutral, but it's got a smooth, kind of liquid flowing sound to it, and I really do like the way it sounds. So far I have been happy with this. Like I said, I've been waiting a long time to review an R2R Dac, and to be honest, well, one more thing I wanted to say, that it seems to have very good detail, but it doesn't sound analytical. Like I said, it's just got kind of that little bit of warmth to the sound. And so anyway, what I did want to mention here, and these were kind of my feelings or my expectations. Okay, I'd never heard an R2R Dac before. I've heard a lot of Delta Sigma DACs, and I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be a lot different, a little bit different, and what the difference would be. Okay, I know the Delta Sigma DACs measure better, but I know that with amps, solid state amps always measure better. I'm assuming they almost always measure better than tube amps. But yet, I've heard, some really nice tube amps and really like the way they sound. And there's not a huge difference between the tube amps and the solid state amps, but there is a definite difference you can hear. And it's usually they have a warmer, more liquid sound, sometimes more three-dimensional. Okay, so I was assuming that the R2 Dac would be to a Delta Sigma DAC similar to what a tube amp is to a solid state amp. So, because the tube amp is using very old technology, like 50-year-old technology compared to the, latest state-of-the-art Delta Sigma DACs, and then, this R2R Dac, I think this is using much older technology than what is being used in these latest Delta Sigma DACs. So I figured it would kind of be like comparing a tube amp to a solid state amp. And so, you know, I put this thing on, I listened to it, really liked the way it sounded, and I couldn't help, I had to compare it to the topping. Okay, according to, and I don't know how credible, there's arguments, okay. There's a website out there called Audio Science Review. Pretty much everyone's heard of it. And they do measurements of DACs and amps and things like that. And a lot of people consider their measurements to be the final word. Other people, you know, debate, well, do measurements mean everything? And I was kind of leaning towards the side where, you know, measurements kind of do mean everything. Because basically everything I've reviewed so far that measures well sounds really good, okay? Well, here's the deal though. The topping D70S, according to Audio Science Review, measures almost perfectly. The Audio GD R8 measures terribly. I read the report, they said the measurements were terrible. Okay, so I was expecting that they would have a significant difference in sound. Well, I compared back and forth, both plugged into the Master 9, both DACs, compared back and forth, one jump back and forth, you know, with my inputs there. And there is a difference, but it's not near as big a difference as I thought it was going to be. I was expecting this huge, significant difference in the sound, and they're, you know, like I said, they are different, but they're not totally different. I was expecting like a night and day difference, especially since one measures almost perfect and the other measures, you know, pretty terrible. But the fact is, the Audio GD sounds just as clear and detailed as the topping D70, and I don't hear anything missing, anything lacking. It's just got a little bit, it's a little different because it's a little smoother and slightly warmer, and like I said, but so I haven't listened to it enough right now where I could say one is better than the other. And I'll tell you what, I also have the i5 Neo IDSD, which is another Delta Sigma DAC, and I honestly hear more difference between the i5 Neo and the topping D7 or D70. These are two similar priced Delta Sigma DACs, and I hear more difference between the two of those than I do between the topping and the Audio GD. So I really don't know what to think. You know, I was expecting this was going to be something completely different, and it is. I mean, it's a nice sound, but like I said, I'm going to spend the next month doing more comparisons, try some different amps, do all that, and see what I come up with and decide whether this is better or not. I mean, it is, you know, over twice the price, really almost 3 times the price of the topping. So so that's what my mission in the next month is to compare this. I don't have any other R2R Dacs to compare it to, but who knows, maybe I will before I come up with my final review. You know, I never know what somebody's going to send in for review. And but I want to compare it, listen with some different headphones, and, you know, spend some time with this. And excuse me a second. I plan to get back to you in about a month or so and let you know what exactly I think, you know, how this does compare to the Delta Sigma DAC. So anyway, this was just the first impressions. I'm going to wrap this up. Oh, also going to try to get you some better pictures and maybe a video tour around the DAC and show you the back and all the connections. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience. If this video has helped you, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you are all welcome to join us at the Headphone Experience on Facebook. We're up to almost 12,500 members. So hope to see you all over there. And once again, thanks for watching my video.